Hello and good evening to everyone. My topic for tonight is about news. By the way, I am Dieter Ancheta from BS Ed English 3.1, and tonight I will discuss the meaning, qualities, categories, and the source of news. And without further ado, let's begin. Audio Jungle. According to my research, news is information that is published in newspaper and broadcast on radio and television about recent events in the country or world. So meaning to say all of those what we read in newspaper or what we hear in radio and what we see in television are kind of news. Now if we're going to Google and search for the meaning of news, there's several meanings. And some of them are abbreviation. They said news stands for never ending wonderful story and etc. But to be specific, for me, news is a kind of interesting and informative rumor that happened in a particular event, whether it is inside or outside the country. Next is qualities of news. First is accuracy, balance, objectivity, concise and clear, and current. So first is accuracy. What factual accuracy really means is that every statement in news items, every name, date, and age, quotation, every definite word or expressions or sentence must be precise and presentation of the true facts. So when we say accuracy, we're talking about the factual of news. So why is it important to be accurate in news? Because all facts are given in news item and it should be accepted by readers without questions. But take note, when we say accuracy, it should not only revolve around the issue, but also in other details. What I mean on these other details is, for example, when we write a news, the issue is given and that will be your main information. And these small details that I mean is the date, time, place, and even quotation. Because these details will support your main information so that will help you to be accurate. So next, we have the balance of news. The reporter has to write all the specific facts correctly, fairly and accurately and objectively. He has to put all the facts together in a manner that his report conveys the correct and factual impression. He has to give a fair picture of the event as it takes place. So, we see here the word fairly, and it says here that the reporter has to put all the facts together. So, why is it important to put all the facts? That is just, and that is because to avoid biasment. So, we have this kind of problem that when the reporter or the inquiry has been paid by someone just to hide some information. And this is a sad reality, no? Especially when the victims are really need justice. But sad to say, that is the power of money. So, next we have the objectives of news. Objectivity in the news is one of the most important principles of modern journalism. It means that the news covers of the consumers intimate without any personal bias or any outside influence that would make it appear anything but what it is. So, objectivity is essential because only pure news can give the consumers confidence because people form their opinions on the basis of news items. So next, we have the concise and clear. News must be follow the news form developed over a period of many years. It must be unite, concise, clear, and simple. So basically, the news must be direct to the point and simply to understand. Why? Because every listeners and readers has a different capability to understand a certain information. And it is important because news is for public. So being a journalist, they need to adjust for their listeners and readers. So last is the current. The definition of news remains incomplete if the elements of time is not given major consideration. Time is the essence of the news. So, just like what I've said a while ago, date and time is also important because as a reader or listeners, um, they always finding this factor. So, especially when it comes into announcement, this is why we always asking when. So, for example, when I was grade 12, I think that is 2019, I've seen an announcement that on Monday we have a suspension of classes. So, I did not came on the class. So, to make the long story short, on that day, I was marked as an absent because I did not check the date and time of the announcement, the date of the announcement. So basically, the effectiveness of that announcement is 1 year ago. And that's it. Share ko lang. So now, let's move on to the categories of news. We have hard news and soft news. Hard news refers to the news stories that have a big impact at the society as a whole and need to be reported urgently. And for the soft news, it is the stories that provide other background information about the world events and human interest stories or entertainment news. So I have an example here. For the hard news topics, we have international news. Basically, these are the accidents or war that happened. Political news, for example, corruption. Basic business and economic news, health or education news, for example, update in COVID-19. And on the other hand, we have soft topics or soft news. It is a entertainment or celebrity news when Derek Ramsey and Elena Darna spend their time in Siargao. And lifestyle news on how Nadine Lustre maintain his body and how Dieter Ancheta gained 6 packs of abs. Just kidding. And arts and culture news, sports news, um, a news about the achievement of Heidelin Diaz, no? And those are just an example of hard and soft news. Now let's proceed to the source of news. First, we have radio. For example, DZMM, Bongbo Teleradio, MOR, like those. For the television, we have ABS-CBN, CNN, 24 Oras, and third is newspaper and magazines. We have Daily Inquirer, Manila Bulletin, Bulgar, Tiktik. Number 4 is correspondence. Number 5, press interviews. Number 6, press conference. And number 7, police stations. This is when the reporter had an interview with the suspect or with the police just to know the background of the suspect. And number 8 is the hospital and court. Again, to summarize my report, the news is a kind of interesting and informative rumor that happened in a particular event. And for the qualities of news, we have accuracy, balance, objectivity, concise and clear, and current. For the accuracy, the news must include all the facts, even details. And for the balance, the news must not be biased. And for the objectivity, the news must be stated impartial and as a journalist, do not convey your feelings in the subject. And for concise and clear, the news must be direct to the point and easy to understand. And for the current,
time, or even date must include because this is the essence of news. And for the categories of news, we have hard and soft news. For the hard news, it is refer about the important and consequential topics. And for the soft news, it include entertainment, celebrity, and lifestyle news. And lastly, for the source of news, we can acquire news through radio, television, newspaper or magazine, correspondence, press interviews, press conference, police station, and hospitals and courts. And here's the reference of my report. And before I end my report, I would like to leave this quotation by Walter Winchell. Today's gossip is tomorrow's headline. So that concludes my report. Thank you for listening.